It's a Marty party in Montreal. The Habs have officially won 6 out of 7 games since our last episode. A lot has happened. Unfortunately, we had to take a week off because of exams because we're students. So I take off time for that. But the Habs have played some amazing hockey, and there was a big trade that happened that we didn't get to cover, unfortunately. A trade that we kind of um, spoke about and a bit in the last episode and wanted to see what we would have liked as a return. And it was Tyler Toffoli. Tyler Toffoli got traded to the Calgary Flames in exchange for prospect Emil Heineman, forward Tyler Pitlick, Rem Pitlick's cousin, for anyone who was wondering, a first-round pick in 2022, and a fifth-round pick in 2023. So I'm going to throw it on to you right away, and we'll get to the other things later. But your initial reaction, and I know what it was because we were texting when it happened, but for the viewers, your initial reaction to the trade.
I was a little bit underwhelmed. I mean, I think we could both agree on that at first sight. But then again, right? We're talking about a player. We're talking about a team here that we've talked about so many times that is in a position to sell. And Tyler Toffoli is a top six forward who provides a lot of goal scoring, especially to a team like Calgary, where their secondary scoring isn't all that strong. But look, we got our first round pick, we got our prospect, which we'll get into a little bit later. But that was put under a microscope by Vincent Lecavalier for about 2-3 weeks there. So, look, again, my initial thoughts were a little bit shaky because I was hoping for a guy like Connor Zary or for a guy like Jacob Pelletier. But unfortunately, that might have been a little bit unrealistic. So we'll settle. We'll settle for the first. We'll settle for the prospect. But I'm not mad at all. I think that it was a fair return, to say the least.
I think we were underwhelmed because of the expectation that Twitter gave us. The names that were flying around, and then you start saying a bar of this is actually going to be the return. I hope we get that. And then when it doesn't happen, you're like, well, wait, why isn't it? And if you take a step back and you actually realize what the trade was, you come to realize that they acquired a 2022 first round pick, which is going to be a late pick, which is going to be in the 20, 25 to 30 range, where Jacob Pelletier was picked. So it was one or the other. It was that pick or it was Pelletier. Yeah. And LeBrun said apparently they asked for Pelletier instead of that pick, but the Flames didn't budge. And the Canadiens rather get Emil Heineman rather than just a regular second round pick because he's already developed more than a kid they would draft this year, right? Mm-hmm. So look, I think that's obviously going to set the market for what's to come. Any other trade that the Habs make further on, I think we have to set as a fan base expectations that it probably won't get a bigger package than this one because of the term, because of the money he's making was a very good contract, very team friendly. But there are some players who are increasing their trade value significantly in the past few games thanks to Marty St. Louis. We'll get into that a bit later. The likes of Ben Sherrod, Arturi Lekin, and even Jeff Petrie for that matter. But yeah, look, I think everyone loved Tyler Toffoli. He decided to come here as a free agent. It doesn't happen often. But at some point, if a team calls and it's the package you like, you got to pull the trigger because they're in a retool situation. They got their prospect that was traded twice. I don't know if that's a bit of a red flag. He was traded in the Sam Bennett deal. I don't think it is. I think it's a way to look at it is that teams want to acquire that prospect, if that's the way you want to look at it. He skates well. He's fast. He's a big body. I think that's the most important thing to look at because Kent Hughes says he wants to build a fast team, different, big, and fast. Well, like that can skate well. Mm-hmm. So look, we'll see. Time will only tell how this trade goes for the Canadiens. And obviously they have to hit on that pick because, right?
You have to
hit on that first round pick or use it to move up, right?
Absolutely.
LeBrun said though on the Sick podcast, Tony Marinaro's podcast, that apparently the Habs wanted the 2023 first round pick instead of the 2022 first round pick.
Interesting.
And yeah, we spoke about this because that could become a lottery ball if ever Calgary has a dumpster fire next year.
Right.
And everyone knows who's the 1 and 2 pick of next year, right?
Right, and even 3, I'm pretty sure some young Slovak kid who has been proving himself
Mm-hmm.
immensely over time. But just to talk about kind of what you mentioned about asking for the 2023 pick, and I kind of brought it up to you, and I think we talked about it briefly. But I think what Montreal is trying to do, and I think what any team that's trying to acquire draft picks at a specific deadline is trying to do, is not put all their balls in one court.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's important, right? Because if Montreal went out and acquired 4 to 5 first round picks, right, and you miss on 3 out of 5 of them, you, you essentially traded big assets for nothing. Not for
Yeah.
nothing. Not for nothing, but you didn't hit, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to do that to yourself, or you don't want to put yourself in that vulnerable position. So that's why I think that going after the later year, like you said, the potential for a potential lottery ball, which would be amazing, but also maybe a different draft class and some different players and a whole different. And again, Montreal's in a position where their management is up in the air and it's building and it's retooling in its own sense. So they might have a different perspective on the draft in 2023 as opposed to in 2022. So again, there's a lot of factors and there's a lot of ideas floating around, but I think that it kind of makes sense that they might want a 2023 as opposed to a 2022 because they keep their options open.
I do think though that after that San Jose trade, the Eric Carlson deal, that every team protects their picks no matter what position they're in. Like,
Mm-hmm.
look, Calgary protected the first round pick the Habs acquired was protected top 3, and Calgary is one of the best teams in the West, and they still protected that pick. I don't know why they had to protect it because they're not missing the playoffs, but they protected a top 3 just in case. Like it, so like if you're acquiring a pick for 2023 and considering who 1 and 2 is going to be in Michkov and Bedard, everyone's going to protect that pick no matter
Right.
how good of a team. Like even Tampa Bay would protect that pick
No,
just
absolutely.
in case, right?
No, you're right. You're right.
So I think it's going to be tough. Everyone knows the Habs this season would have been like next year, or the draft class of next year would have been ideal for this year's draft class for the Canadian situation.
Yeah, at least the top
Because they're
5 or the top 3.
they're kind of like, not only is winning the lottery lucky, but whoever the first overall pick is, like if it's a franchise player, it's even luckier, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
every first overall pick is different. But look, we'll we'll see what happens with other trades. The Toffoli one, yeah, we had expectations that were probably a bit unrealistic, considering that Calgary wasn't willing to budge. But I'm sure. Look, the Habs are clearly happy what they got because they accepted it right away and they didn't wait. And apparently Ben Sherratt was supposed to be in that deal. But what they were going to give the 2022 first round pick and the 2023 first round pick because Sherratt. Well, unless they call back because Sherratt had a huge night last night in
Against
Calgary.
them.
And, yeah, against them. So maybe they call back and say, you know what, here, take Pelche.
Right. I mean, that would be ideal. And
That'd be
also
very ideal.
it's also interesting to note too, right, that I mean, you can chime in on this, but I think the closer that you do get to the deadline, the more specific players become more valuable, and it depends on the player, of course, depending on their play.
Yeah.
But teams that are in desperate need of a depth forward or a top 4 defenseman become eager to move their draft picks or their prospects, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, look, like in this case, the Toffoli trade happened, what, give or take 2.5 weeks ago. And with that being said, I mean, that's still 5 to 6 weeks outside of the deadline. So I think Montreal was very satisfied with the return that they were getting. And this is a time where I'm going to say, look, Ken Hughes, you're the man in charge. Do what you got to do. I'm not making a comment until further notice, until I see what you do with these picks and these players and how you develop them, right?
Yeah, and in the Habs case, I think the Sherratt injury, remember that little scare he had?
Yeah.
I think that kind of like an alarm went off in the offices saying, you know what, if we get an offer we like, just take it,
Mm-hmm.
just in case. And again, I'm gonna go back to LeBrun here. That Tyler Toffoli, like the Habs have a list here of players that they see making it out of the rebuild and ones that aren't making it out of the rebuild. We'll use those terms. And Tyler Toffoli was one where they saw him on the team, but also if they received the right offer and it's when you couldn't refuse, you take it. And I think that's what they did. Consider like that pick can be very valuable. Like, so for people that are saying, "Oh, he was great leadership," and we said it on this podcast. We said we would like a Peltier type of return for it to be worth moving that guy because of his off face value. And they got a Peltier pick because he was picked in that range, but obviously I would have personally liked to see Peltier because he's developed. Well, not developed, but he's actually doing very well in the AHL, and
Yeah,
he's almost there. He's NHL ready, so it's better
and
than waiting 2 to 3 years for the guy you're going to pick at 22 or 30.
yeah, no, absolutely, and he had a
Mm-hmm.
good World Juniors, right? He showed off there,
Yeah,
and again, it's about these players taking advantage of their of the spotlight that they have. And I
yeah.
don't want to go on too much of a tangent here, but your edge Slavkovsky from Slovakia really put on a show at the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
17-year-old from Slovakia who's now shot up in the rankings. I think he's at top 10, but like more top 7 type of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
it's
No,
I
he
think
shot up there quick. Yeah,
yeah, very quickly. And I think it's really interesting to see how like certain players take advantage of those situations and the spotlight that they're given.
he's a funny kid too. He was on the 32 Thoughts, the
I listened to
podcast.
that as well.
You listen to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a funny
Yeah.
kid.
He was really and I think it was unintentionally too, which was even funnier.
Oh
Is
yeah,
the
yeah. It's
fact
one of those guys that's just unintentionally funny.
it was hilarious. Like I mean, he
Yeah,
was talking about his dogs and he was talking about how like his teammates keep him updated on like on the draft rankings and
yeah.
I thought it was funny. But he's seems like a good kid and I mean
Mm-hmm.
again, now we're going I don't want to go too much into this, but it was a
Yeah, it was a
pretty
good
funny show.
episode. Um, we'll move on to the next news that we didn't. I don't think we covered in the last episode. It's been a while. Vincent Le Cavalier was hired, as well as Nick Bobrov. So Nick Bobrov for the Canadiens will serve as co-director of amateur scouting. So he'll be alongside Martin Lapointe. Remember we spoke about this about who's going to run the show at the draft. Well, we
Of
have our
course.
answer. It's going to be
Right.
them two, and obviously Gordon's going to have his say. Bobrov was with the Rangers for 6 seasons while Gordon was there. So um, it's the beginning of the poaching season,
Mhm.
and I've been asking for this for years now. The Canadiens are a wealthy, wealthy franchise who didn't take advantage of poaching uh, people in positions that there's no salary cap, right? Doesn't matter how much you pay an amateur scout, but steal him from the teams like Tampa and from the Rangers who drafted well. So he's going to come alongside Martin Lapointe, which is huge. Who knows who's going to become the head of amateur scouting? But he's right now they're sharing it like the front office with Hughes and
Right.
Goran. And Le Cavalier, everyone. Well, I hope everyone knows that name. I hope you guys know who he is. He will be special advisor to hockey operations. So in that's the fancy word for assistant general manager. But you can't name him assistant general manager if he's not physically in Montreal
Right.
because he's not, and he didn't want to come. He wanted to stay in sunny Florida with his family. So he'll be watching games and he's doing the like I think he's doing pro scouting, so he's gonna do watch other games and the Habs games through his computer and TV.
What a life that is.
Yeah, and,
Jeez.
and then he makes obviously reports, sends it to Hughes. Says I like this guy. Maybe this guy's gonna fit in well with St. Louis, and Trevor Timmins wasn't in Montreal physically,
Yeah, and I didn't know that. I had no idea.
and it makes sense because we never saw him. We
Only
just
at
saw
the
him at the
draft.
draft. That's it.
That was
That's it. He'd show up
yeah.
bigger every year, like wider. The guy's
Well,
constantly hitting the gym,
bicep
the bicep club. Well, he'd
bicep
probably
club.
come. Yeah, he'd probably come here and then for the bicep club. In
Well,
Brossard.
you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking that he came in. I think like a once a month meeting with Bergevin, like just to curl, just
Just a curl
strictly,
with
just
Martin Lapointe
strictly.
because Martin Lapointe's huge. Also, I think he's
Oh
the
yeah.
last member of the bicep club.
Okay.
Yeah,
At least we
yeah.
still got him. I mean,
At least, yeah. If ever we meet him, we could always reminisce about the bicep club. Anyway, anyways, so yeah, two huge additions, in my opinion, because amateur scouting is going to be huge for this draft, considering all the seasons that were lost for some of these kids and trying to come up with something under a new regime. And Le Cavalier, look, it's Le Cavalier. Like I'm sure he knows his hockey players, and I'm sure he can help out finding young talent. And as you noticed, everyone in this front office now knows each other, and I don't even think it's a bad thing. People are calling it
no,
a what's it called, a golf club or whatever.
I don't know.
Um,
I know what you're referring to. I
like a
just don't know.
retirement, like those, those clubs that retirement people
Right. It's
retired
like it's
people
like
go
it's
to.
like the group of golf players that just go out and play all the
Yeah,
time
they're
together.
calling it.
That's all.
Yeah, people are calling that, and I think people that are calling that are just jealous that they didn't get hired. Um,
Right.
but look, if you want to be successful, you got to trust the people around you, and I think that's
Oh,
actually exactly what they're doing.
you're 100% right, and
Mm-hmm.
there's no way around that in my opinion. Look,
Mm-hmm.
I understand where the comments come from. I do. I understand that
Yeah.
people make the comments because they believe that if it becomes too much of a friend group as opposed to a work environment, then not things can get out of hand, but maybe the level of professionalism drops a little bit. But look, we've talked about this on so many occasions. These guys did not come to Montreal to goof around. This is Montreal again is in such a sensitive situation that they need to put their I don't know what the expression is, but they need to get their stuff in check here, and they need to
Mm-hmm.
work together to rebuild slash retool this organization. And in order to
Yeah.
do that, they're not here to mess around. These guys are here for strictly business, and we've seen that through press
Mm-hmm.
conferences with Gordon and Hughes, right? So I'm not worried whatsoever, and I think that the comments make sense, but I disagree with them.
Yeah, I don't like them either, and I think these additions are very important. I think there should be more to come, and there will be in the offseason, little changes here and there. Obviously, depends how the draft goes, and if there are many arguments and stuff. Um, but yeah, we'll move on now to something we didn't talk about either, which is the Hamburglers in town. Maybe we did talk about it, like
I
when
don't
he
think
got
so.
acquired. Not even. So Andrew Hammond was
No,
acquired by the Canadiens
sorry to cut you
for
off, but
yeah.
I just want to mention because I remember exactly what happened is that on our last pod we talked about the importance of acquiring a veteran goalie to send Primo down, but we never. But Hammond was acquired, I think, the next day or
Oh,
two.
next day, yeah. You're right. It was he was acquired on like a Saturday, so he probably recorded on a Friday. Yeah,
Right.
you're right. So it's for Brandon Baddock of the Laval Rocket. So so they bring in Andrew Hammond, the Green Pads beast. He's currently undefeated. Is he 2 or 3? 2-0? 3-0? I can't
Three,
see your finger. 3. Okay.
three. Sorry.
But obviously he was thrown in Winnipeg in the dumpster fire, but that doesn't count.
Yeah, he didn't start
Um,
that game.
no, he didn't start exactly. But yeah, he's playing well. He's a genuine guy. He's happy to be there, and he's going to take advantage of the opportunity he's given. And obviously, it relieves Primo of the pressure. Um, he should rock the honestly, he should rock the green pads until the end of the season. Looking like it'd be funny if he
It would be
does
funny.
until he loses at least. Does he
Yeah,
have a burger on his helmet, or does he
he
have the
does.
hamburger on his helmet?
He
Even on the
does.
Canadians one?
Yep.
That's so hype.
Yeah, it's so cool. I love it.
Like I wonder if I'd get kicked out of the Bell Center for throwing a burger on the ice.
No, I think people did it in Ottawa at the end of the game when they won.
Really? They threw
Yeah,
burgers on the ice?
I'm not even joking. I saw a tweet. I don't know who it was, but someone tweeted that.
Do they even sell burgers? Oh, they do. It's like those fancy burgers at the Bell Center.
Well, maybe you could sneak in a few McDonald's burgers, a few junior chickens, and just
Yeah,
toss
through
them.
that airport security, no chance.
That airport
They'd
security.
sniff me. Yeah, they'd sniff me, and I don't know what they would do. Make sure I didn't bring a junior chicken or something.
but
Knowing them.
but look, he's played well, and again, like you said, and you know what the coolest thing for me is that he looks comfortable, and you don't see that
Yeah.
very often from a guy that just walks into a dumpster fire and says, "Look, I'm just gonna go out and do my thing," and that's what he's done, and
Yeah.
I find that pretty impressive, and he's always been a likable guy. So on top of everything, I mean, good for him, right?
Yeah, good for him. And plus, it costed nothing to get. Well, nothing unless Brandon Baddock becomes Connor McDavid or Nikita Kucherov. But
I think he's headed down the Michael McCarron road, so we'll just keep it at that.
but look, it was a needed acquisition. They didn't give up a pick, which is something I prefer. And yeah, and they also traded. Talking about goalies, Michael McNiven on Wednesday for future considerations. And the source, I won't say the source because it's very insider-y. But the source says that that future consideration is going to become a first liner. So
well, people are speculating what number he's going to wear because apparently they might actually like take it down from the rafters. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
future consideration. That's a huge name in sports world. So yeah, so like honestly, no, but like genuinely, jokes aside, what is it?
I don't know. I was thinking the exact same thing.
Is it like because there has to be something that they agreed on. They can't just say, "Look, I'll give you something later."
We'll talk about that when the time comes.
Right? Like, what
Like,
is it?
oh my god,
Is it because it's so embarrassing that it can't even?
no, because I've seen players be traded for money. I think I saw a baseball player be traded for $1 once. Like that's not.
No, but like a
There's
future
worse.
consideration has to be worse than saying a seventh round pick.
I don't. But I don't. I wonder what it is, and it makes it like I'm so curious. I'm so maybe we can ask our followers or our listeners because I
If
don't know.
anyone knows the future consideration, is it because like it's so far deep? Like, is it like a 2027 seventh
It
rounder?
could be something like that
But why not just write it?
because maybe like
Is there
there's like a
like is it?
cutoff. Maybe is it? Can you trade? Like, can I trade if I wanted to a 2032 first
See,
round pick?
in NHL 22 you can't.
Yeah. No, you can.
You can go all the way down.
Wait. Okay.
There's a
I think there's
cutoff. I
like
think
a
there's a cutoff.
threshold. Yeah, I think there's a
Yeah,
cutoff there.
but I
Yeah.
don't know if that works. I don't know if in the CBA it says you can't trade the 20 picks, a pick in 20 years. I doubt you
Uh,
can. You know what? Hold on.
Mark's
Let's
doing a
find
little
this
bit of
here.
research. So in the meantime,
Future considerations.
I don't know though. I don't know. Look again. Who cares? To be honest, I think the important. Well,
Oh,
I'll let you figure.
wonderful. Reddit. Let's see.
Oh, let's see what people have to say. Answered all your questions on Reddit.
Okay, so the guy says you can't trade a player for nothing. Okay, Arizona or Philly, but future considerations is the minimum modicum. I don't know what that means. To satisfy the trade requirements. Many times, it just means they will swap conditional draft picks or something else of no value. So nothing. The guy's contradicting himself.
Okay, but I think the point is. I think the point is.
The most notable one is probably when Chris Draper was traded this way for what eventually turned out to be $1. so it's something that, like, I guess they say we'll figure it out, but it's along the lines of this.
Sure.
So like,
Yeah.
either we'll swap fourth round picks in 2027, or like, look, if I win the cup in 3 years, I'll give you $2 instead of 50 cents.
Whatever,
Like,
man. It's so weird. So okay, so bottom line, Michael McNiven was basically traded for nothing. For like literally nothing.
basically, unless that consideration, that seventh round pick becomes another Jake Evans, then we're in
Now
business.
that's the lottery right there.
Then we're in business. But yeah, he
But
was traded.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that basically at the end of the day, the point is that you wrote it on the doc here. So that it's for the purpose of opening up a roster spot, right? That gives them
Yeah,
another contract that they could sign before the deadline.
that's what I was gonna tell. I was gonna throw it on to you, that open roster
Oh,
spot in
sorry about
parentheses,
that.
because you texted me, and look, we won't say the source that you saw it on Twitter
Well,
because who knows how
he's
legit it
fake.
is.
He's fake. I messed up.
Okay, but like, it makes
It makes
sense though.
sense. It makes sense.
It makes sense, but doesn't mean it's actually gonna happen. But
Right.
don't mention the guy,
I won't
because
because I don't want to.
just
I don't
mention
want to give out.
what the idea is of that open roster spot could mean for the Montreal Canadiens.
Right. So basically the idea is kind of like a similar situation to Cole Caulfield last year, is the fact that it gives them a roster spot to sign a guy like Jordan Harris, who is now what's the word I'm looking eligible for his ELC, to sign his first year of his ELC
Mm-hmm.
at the end of his NCAA season. And that's kind of what Mark and I have speculated about. That's kind of what we've seen on Twitter, but nothing confirmed whatsoever. But it does make sense. It does make sense for the possibility of that happening. We've heard a lot of speculation about Jordan Harris. Is he going to come? Is he going to, decide to take his talents elsewhere? We've heard positive news since Kent Hughes has become general manager of the team, but who knows, right? But at the end of the day, it does make sense, and it is definitely in the realm of possibility.
Because otherwise, why was McNiven traded? Like, out of nowhere. Like,
And
I understand it happening in the offseason, but why now?
right, and especially for a team, right, that like was suffering in terms of goalies that they had in their system when it came. Like Montembeault needed wrist surgery. McNiven was injured.
Mhm.
I already said name. Jake Allen was injured. Primo was clearly not playing well in the NHL. Like, right? Like they needed, like now they don't, but they needed
Mhm.
someone at the time. So why would you just go out and throw him away for nothing
Yeah.
when there's the possibility of that type of situation like coming around again?
And he was traded to Calgary, so it's kind of funny that they were in Calgary. If you like, they were probably already in Calgary, or they're on their way
Makes the
to Calgary.
transition
So
easier
they
for him.
no, not even because he's going to the AHL team. It's more that Brad Treliving and
What do you
Kent
mean he's
Hughes in
going
the
to the
same
HL
building.
team? I think Markstrom's job is in jeopardy now. No?
Well, after he launched the puck out of his net after Suzuki scored and had his rage issues, he's not having a good month though. I think it's because he hasn't had a shot in a while.
Yeah,
When he got lit
those
up,
numbers
he
were
got lit
insane.
up by. Did you watch that Vancouver game where they got lit up?
Yeah, I did.
Did you see how he left the game though because of the skate blade?
No.
So his skate blade popped up, it popped off. It was at the time 3-0. His skate blade popped off, and they got a penalty on the play. So he goes to the bench to change his blade, and in the meantime, they're throwing a guy in the box, and Vancouver's gonna go on the power play for 2 minutes, and the blade's just not going back in. So the ref says, "Put in the other goalie. You're taking too long." So I forget who their backup is.
It's
Um,
Vladar.
Vladar, exactly. He hops in, cold on the PK. Obviously, they score. Okay, Vancouver scores, and this guy's still in the back getting his blade changed. And this is all in a span of 5 minutes. Vancouver gets a penalty shot, and JT Miller absolutely undresses Vladar. And then finally, the period just ends. They're still changing his blade, and they're like, you know what? Screw it, Markstrom, you're not going back in. It's 5-0. The game
That's
ended like
hilarious.
7-0. But anyways, he's not playing that well. But like some of those goals, I'm sorry. If you're a
No,
Calgary fan, if you're a Calgary
look,
fan, the Sherrod goal shouldn't go in. The Hoffman one shouldn't go in.
no, yeah, and even the Suzuki one,
Like,
it was a weird angle, but still, right? Like,
yeah, like they're the clean shots, like the Sherrod one, really. Like that's not a wire. Hoffman is a wire. Like that thing slingshots off his stick.
right.
But well, who am I to say? I'm just a
Well,
podcaster.
just a podcaster. But you know what? At the end of the day, I think like again, I think I'm not Markstrom's a good goalie. He's a good goalie. There's no doubt.
Oh,
He's
I
never been
really
bad in
like
my
I
opinion.
like Markstrom. I like him. Yeah.
Yeah. But we do have to keep in mind also that Calgary is getting to the point where they are, in my opinion at least, and I want to hear what you have to say, but they're a cup contender this year. They're a cup contender, and I think that there maybe look, they added to Foley. That's amazing depth. I think if they make a couple more moves, I think they're in that they're first in the Pacific. At least they're the Pacific, right? They're first in the Pacific. Pacific or Central?
Pacific, I
Ugh.
think.
Yeah, Pacific, right. First in the Pacific by a
I
lot with
think.
2 games in hand over anyone else. Um, I mean, I think that they have the forward core to do it, and I honestly think that they have the D core necessary for a deep playoff run. So we'll see. But back on Markstrom, like I think that they have a good enough team in front of him that can put up 5 goals if he lets in 4. You know that type of thing.
I say second round exit for the
Really,
Calgary. Yeah. They're in the Pacific. Yeah. I say second round exit. Yeah.
2? Do you have an idea? Do you have a?
Um,
And I know it's early. I know it's early.
it's true. Their division's really garbage.
I mean, look, let's look at their division for a second. The Kings. Do I think they're a good hockey team? Sure. Do I think that they can make a run? Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah. Shit. You're right. I don't know. I don't think. Look, I don't think they come out of the West because I think the Central's just too strong for them.
That's fair. Look, I know
But
it's very early. It's very early.
look, the Golden Knights, I think they beat Calgary.
Healthy, sure.
Yeah, they're gonna get stoned back by the first. If it's Calgary Vegas
Pacioretty and
first
Stone are
round,
band-aids, man. Absolute band-aids.
yeah, but I still think they could beat them.
Yeah,
I
no, I
just
agree.
Calgary's the type of team in the playoffs where it's not the same hockey team. Like they just play different. And
Yeah, well,
that's been previous years. But under Daryl Sutter it might be different because he's a crazy coach who wants to win.
mm.
Um, they're just one of those teams like you think of Toronto. It's a different team in the playoffs. Calgary is kind of the same way. They kind of choke.
There's a lot of teams like that I've identified in the standings that, you know, to me at least, like look, like I'll name a few and I want to hear what you have to say, but I think
Mhm.
Toronto, that's evident. But I think that like a team like the Caps have no chance, absolute zero chance.
Uh, yeah, I don't think that. Yeah,
Like
unless
the
they.
goaltending is not
Yeah, you're
there,
right. The goaltending's not there.
and
The
the
goaltending
depth
isn't
in
there.
terms of forwards is not there. I mean, they have they have Mantha,
Mm-hmm.
Oshie, Ovechkin, Backstrom, Kuznetsov, great top six, but that
Mm-hmm.
falls off a cliff. Look, I'm just naming a few teams because I find it interesting how, in my opinion, the teams that are going to have the best chance of winning are the teams that don't benefit on the power play as much as in the regular season. And I look at
That's
teams that do
yeah,
that: the Capitals, the Rangers,
and the Flames.
the the Flames do
If we're
benefit on the
talking,
power play. You're right. You're
if we're
right.
talking about primary scoring, that's why I'd. If in the playoffs, all I think about is secondary scoring. Obviously, primary scoring is super important, but it's gonna come unless you're the Vegas Golden Knights in the Eastern Conference in the conference finals,
Right.
and it just doesn't come.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a very rare case. But if your secondary scoring isn't there, you're not gonna outscore a team that's firing on all cylinders, like the Canadians were in the last playoff run, where like you couldn't even stop the third line. Like it was getting to a
Right.
case where like everyone was scoring. So if Goudreau has 2 games that are off in the first round, and that line is quiet, it's like if you shut down the Oilers' first line, top line in the playoffs.
Well, that's why
It's
they have
done.
no chance.
Yeah, it's done. You win. You win the series. I
I
just feel like that they got to Foley though. That helps a lot, obviously.
do you think now by the kind of the standards that we've set a little bit here, like does that make you a little bit more confident in a team like LA? Because like to be honest with you, like they do not benefit from like they're good on the power play, there's no doubt about it, but 5-on-5 they take the most shots out of any team in the league and they score
Mm-hmm.
a lot of goals 5-on-5. And
Mm-hmm.
not even only that, but I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of their scoring, yes, Kopitar's great, Kempe's great, Iafalo's great, but a lot of their scoring comes from the Dustin Browns, the Trevor Moores,
Yeah,
the Arthur Kalievs, right? Like these guys are like, and who knows? I feel like in the first round of the playoffs, they might be able to surprise a team, whether it's the Calgary or the Vegas. Like who
they could
knows?
surprise. Yeah, but I think the only team they could beat is Edmonton. Like let's be real. Like Calgary's a powerhouse.
Yeah, they are. They are.
They're a powerhouse. Do they have a chance at the conference finals? 100%. There's just something about I look at the past and maybe it's a bad thing because you shouldn't. It's a different hockey team on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the core of the Calgary Flames that has been there for a long time now, that hasn't been successful, and every offseason they question themselves, saying, "Do we build a new core? Do we trade Goudreau?" It's happened for the past 3 seasons, Monahan, all that stuff. Now they're having a crazy season, and it's good for them.
Mm-hmm.
But a team like Vegas, in my opinion, look, even Dallas can surprise them in the first round.
Right. If they make the playoffs,
If
yeah.
Braden Holtby goes crazy in nets,
And what about Jake Ottinger? He's been amazing too.
even Jake Ottinger, you know what I mean? They're a team that could maybe surprise. I would put my money on Calgary, obviously. Um, but I still see Vegas coming out of that Pacific Division.
Yeah, that's fair.
If
No,
they get
look.
healthy, like right.
Well, right, and you look at the injuries that they have, right? And not only is so Pacioretty's day to day, but they're saying that he's not going to return like in the net. Like I think it's one of those things that's going to linger for a little while here. But look, they have a healthy Jack Eichel, Stone's back injury, but I feel like come playoff time, there's no doubt in my mind that he's back on the ice.
Yeah.
And Alec Martinez is also going to be back on the ice,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a guy that is so important to a potential playoff run, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see how that plays out exactly. But again, it's a bit too early.
But also, Mark, I just wanted to say, like, I think that come now till the end of the season, when we're recording, I'd like to touch on like where we're at in the playoff seedings
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah,
I
we could
find
do
it a
that.
lot. I find it a lot of fun to, you know, see where everything's out because everything can change like this, right? Like you look at Nashville, like they were in such a favorable position in the Central,
Yeah, you're
and
right.
now they like now I think they're second wild card or maybe they just even fell out or first wild card, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but anyway, regardless, I think it's
Yeah,
interesting
right
for
now they're
sure.
in a wild card spot. Yeah,
Yeah,
with Dallas.
we'll see.
Yeah.
It's time to talk some Haps.
Yeah, we'll move on.
Well, I mean, we did, but
Yeah, we'll move on to the Marty party.
the
The
Marty
Habs went on a
Party.
5 game win streak. Unfortunately, I missed a lot of those games. I think I missed every single one except for maybe a period of the Buffalo one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like I can't really break down the games. I watched the highlights, but it's not the same, obviously. It's unfortunate, but accounting, am I right? Not a big accounting test. But yeah, 5-game win streak, which honestly, obviously some people were mad because pain for Shane, whatever. But I think it was good for the team. Put some smiles back on their face. Get them back into a mojo. You know what I mean? Make them want to go to the rink every morning, and I think it was just good for the team in general. Obviously, I don't want to go on a 15-game win streak and push for a wildcard spot here, but I liked it. I didn't mind it. And then the loss to the Jets was just an entertaining hockey game, and we've mentioned this so many times. Where if it's entertaining and you lose, goodbye me.
No problems there. And even to add on to your point, Mark, like people are upset, but we still sit second to last in the league. So it hasn't really affected our spot too much. And quite frankly, I mean, Arizona's 1 point back of us. 1 point. So with that being said, that can change at any point, at any given time. And look, you win a few hockey games, you boost the morale a bit, you get some production from some names. You get some production from the Suzuki, the Caulfield, the Anderson, et cetera, while also being in a favorable drafting spot. So I look, I understand the cause for concern, but do I think it's been validated? Do I think that it's necessary? Not as of now, no.
Yeah, but we'll see how it goes. But obviously, this whole streak and this whole winning mood has changed players' performances on the ice. And look, Petry's playing. I'm not saying he's playing like Jeff Petry, but he's playing better because some of his assists are just rimming it off the glass and a secondary assist, right?
Yeah.
But Ben Sherratt is an absolute beast out there. Yeah, they're gonna get a first round pick for that guy, 100%.
And they better do it soon, Mark. Look.
I think they're gonna do it when they get when the offers on the table. Once it's there, they take it. I don't think it's there yet. That's why. But I saw on Twitter that like apparently the buyers are trying to squeeze the sellers.
Okay, that's fair. I just think that and you're 100% right, and you're on track there. But for me, it's like I think Ben Sherratt, like I talked about at the top of the episode, Ben Sherratt's the type of player where, you know how I said like teams become needy as it gets close to the deadline. I feel like he's the type of player where disagree with me if you think I'm wrong here, but I feel like his value drops a little bit if he's not playing up to par the closer you get to the deadline, you know?
Yeah. Like, yeah, you're right, but he's playing very well right now. You're right.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah.
Like 3 points last night, he looked like he looked like he could fetch a first rounder. But I mean, but you know what? In his defense, he's been playing some good hockey and he's actually been getting on the score sheet, like in terms of assists and 2 goals last night. So I mean, look, like add some grit to your team.
Exactly. So again, we're gonna be awaiting the next trade because we're excited for that. And look, honestly, we covered everything we wanted to cover as of right now. So we'll slowly move into what's coming up for the Canadians, and we'll do our bold predictions.
Sure.
And who knows, we might get in on a rant about Kachina jerseys.
Or maybe cup holders at the Bell Center.
Cup holders, yeah, security. Saturday night against the Edmonton Oilers at 7 p.m. is the next game for the Canadians.
So it's an early one in Edmonton then.
Tomorrow. Yeah, for them, right? What is it, 5? What's the hour difference? 2 hours?
2, maybe 3, but I feel like it's 2.
And they have a bit of a break, 3-day break, and they're in Vancouver. Oh, the wonderful 10:30 games in Vancouver on Wednesday. God, I still have PTSD from like the shootouts at 12 o'clock at midnight. JT Miller last season.
Yeah.
Bo Horvat going 5. They skate all the way along the boards, and then remember that?
That sparked a memory for me because I remember. Do you remember when Adam Gaudette like scored?
Oh my God! Yes.
Goal?
That was a
So
shot and a half. That was a
and that
snipe.
yeah, that was a crazy shot. And then they ended up losing that game because Tatar went through the legs in the shootout.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my god, I went straight to Twitter.
Oh
Straight to
my god.
Twitter.
No, not only did you go straight to Twitter, but I went straight to TSN 690 post
It's
game
true.
show.
Yeah.
And
You're on the
I
post
was
game
so
show.
upset. I was
Yeah.
so upset. But
Yeah, I can't believe at that time, yeah.
yeah, that was a
Because it was
it
like
feels like so
past
long
midnight.
ago. Yeah, at that time.
Yeah, like I was so mad that they were losing all eight. Remember they were like 9, they were losing so many points in shootout and overtime, and we were like, how is this team gonna do? How's this team gonna make the playoffs? So they can't even. I forget how many points it was that they dropped in 9,
A
I think.
lot.
In
A
I
lot.
think it was like
Too many.
9,
Yeah, something along those
and
lines.
they ended up going undefeated in overtime in the playoffs or something.
Oh my god.
Like
Well,
they went
do you
crazy.
remember when they got their first points like in the I think they got their
It was the
first
blue
like
jerseys.
it was the blue jerseys. Oh my god, I never want to see
Yeah,
those things again.
yeah. Thank
Genuinely.
God they're
I
gone.
mean, I like them, but I never want to see them on the Habs ever
No,
again.
yeah, no, no, no. I don't know. Um, but speaking about, it's crazy how long or short that felt that when that happened. Can you believe like the starting roster of this team, and not only how much has happened between this season and last season, but just this season in general. Adam Brooks was on the Montreal Canadiens,
I know that feels like it was like 3 years ago already.
right? Like
It's
all these
weird.
things feel like before the variant, Mathieu Perreault's hat trick.
Yeah.
Like
What
what?
about when like on it like I know Clegg is on our team now, but like
Yeah,
doesn't it feel like so long ago that we like picked him up off waivers?
yeah. There's just, it felt like, I don't know, that variant like stoppage of time kind of like made us forget about everything.
I know, insane. So weird. And it was so weird because the NHL was in such a bad state at one point. Like
Yeah,
I think probably like over 50% of the league entered the protocol at one point. And like, do you
I
remember the
remember.
Habs
Yeah,
roster? Harvey Pinard. I think
everyone
Cameron
did.
Hillis got called up from the ECHL.
Oh my god, Cam Hillis
Insane.
played his, yeah, yeah, he played his first NHL game. Everyone got on protocol except for Nick Suzuki. I think.
I think you're
I think
right.
everyone did. Everyone, even the
Yeah, because I
even
remember the
Even
only
Trevor Latowski was on COVID protocol.
I don't even know who that is to be honest with
The
you.
assistant coach.
Oh, okay. But all I know is that like the two players that hadn't hit the COVID protocol were like I think at the time were like Romanov and Caulfield and Suzuki, but then Caulfield
And
and Romanov hit it. So
got it.
then
Yeah, it's just Suze. Yeah. And they're back at home next Saturday against Seattle.
the 12th, right?
Yeah. Then in Philly, and then, well, I'm not going to read the whole schedule of this month, but yeah.
We're
So
approaching the end of the season. We're like about 55 games in, right? So think
but
about
yeah,
that.
it's almost
25
done.
games left about.
Hmm. Then we're gonna be in the off season and just, oh, I wish there was more hockey. Like now we hope for the off season, and then in the off season we hope for October. Like,
I know.
anyways,
Oh god.
well, at least after the draft.
After the
And
draft and after free
free
agency
agency,
even.
yeah, free
Yeah.
agency. Even though free agency is always
Such a bust. But
such a bust,
wait,
and
can we
trade
talk
deadline
about
has been
something
such a
though?
bust. Yeah.
Can we talk about something quickly? Like the fact that I got a score notification about it, not even a tweet, a score notification saying that
Mhm.
Ken Hughes wants to be able to attract big free agents come next offseason.
Yeah, because yeah, it was on. Was that on Insider Trading? Yeah, Insider Trading
Probably.
mentioned it. Pierre LeBrun mentioned it, I think, on
Oh
Insider
yeah, I did.
Trading.
Yeah. You're right. But like, is that like does that not confuse you a little bit?
It does. And I'm not for, like, people are for the decision. Bring in Bergeron and Letang.
Yeah, I've
But
heard
in
that
my
too.
mind, I'm like, you have to. Like, I understand everyone wants to be competitive, and I understand you can't tell a coach to lose, but try not to bolster the team, because you have to miss the playoffs next year, in my opinion, by a significant amount. You have to have a chance at Bedard. Like, there's no
Or
way in
Mishkov,
4 years.
Mm.
There's no way in 4 years should you be looking back saying, well, now Bergeron's retired and he was a Hab for 2 seasons, but we passed on the chance of drafting Bedard or Michkov that would make us successful for 10 years straight. Like, you have to sacrifice next season. And I'm not saying pull a Toronto Maple Leafs and tell Babcock, make sure this team loses, and and show that you're tanking, but don't bolster the team. What I do think is going to happen, however, is I think they're going to sign Chris Letang. I think they're going to sign Chris Letang as a mentor to Jordan Harris and to a Caden Gooley and
Okay.
to a Romanov. I think it's going to be a 2 to 3 year or a 3 year deal at 8-9 million, and one of those crazy deals, short term. He comes here because he's not going to get paid in Pittsburgh. Comes to Montreal to stop the rumors and plays for Hughes. That I don't mind because Crystal Tang isn't really a game changer to say, and I think he'd help our young players learn. But you can't go out and start spending money on Philip Forsberg and Johnny Gaudreau and all these guys. Like, no. I don't know if you agree. Like, I don't know if you agree.
No, well, you actually tweeted about it, and
I
then
did.
and then I couldn't find the tweet anymore. So maybe I don't know what happened, but maybe I just I don't know.
Should I quote myself here?
Yeah, well, I was gonna quote you, but without saying your name, and I thought it would have been funny, but I couldn't find the tweet because I remember responding
Imagine
to
if
it.
I didn't recognize it.
I think you deleted it. Did you delete it by any chance, or is that out of the realm of possibility?
I think it was a reply, maybe. Did you just check my tweets?
Yeah, and I couldn't find it.
Oh,
So.
yeah, it was a reply to Tony.
Oh, okay. You can go ahead and read it if you want.
Yeah, so Mark Anthony Bertat just said on Twitter, at Tony Marinaro, I couldn't agree more. In order to have long-term sustainable success, championship teams have proven that 1 to 2 picks, so first and second overall picks in the draft, are absolutely necessary. I would never trade 10 to 15 years of competitiveness with Bedard for 3 years of mediocrity with UFA signings.
Oh, like again, like you do not have to convince me of that statement. Like that,
right?
And you know what? It's funny because I think that a lot of people are on board with that, but a lot of Habs fans and a lot of, I don't want to say casuals. I just want to say people that are like eager to win, which is a great thing, or like they're passionate about winning. Like they have like devils on their shoulders, or a devil and an angel, right? They have like one person telling them, oh, let's be bad. Let's have a few years of of finishing in the bottom 5, and then let's have 10 years of success. But then the devil is like saying, oh, go out and throw money at Johnny Gaudreau, throw money at Chris Letang, right? So it's like, it's funny because like part of me says that and part of me says the other thing, but like I know what they need to do, and I know that in order to have those 10 years of success with 5 years of potentially winning the cup, for example, is so much more valuable to a Habs fan than being mediocre, like you mentioned, for 15 seasons.
Yeah. But yeah, like we'll see what happens. I don't know what's first of all, Bergevin has tried 10 years to bring a free agent to Montreal. Well, who did he bring? Thomas Vanek, Tyler Toffoli.
Those are the biggest names. I don't even think he brought Thomas Vanek as a free agent, did he?
Yeah, he did.
I could have sworn he. Okay.
Yeah, it was.
I thought he traded for him.
Oh, it was a trade deadline acquisition.
Right. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was because I don't think he played the next season.
Right. I think you're right.
I didn't mean to fact check you, but I just like
no, I think you're right. No.
Because at the end of the day, you're right, right? Like you brought up his name, but then now take that off the list. Like you're talking about like Tyler Toffoli, and that's it. Hoffman, like
yeah, you're right. A second round pick and a prospect, Sebastian Kohlberg. Okay, so it was a
trade deadline move.
It was a big trade deadline. Okay,
and it was a last minute move too. I remember that. It was very minute.
It was late in the afternoon. Okay, you're right. So yeah.
But
so
your point is being
proven. Yeah, Toffoli. It's the biggest name he brought in. And I'm not saying it's because he had bad negotiation skills or he couldn't sell the team or because he was bad. No one wants to come here.
And with reason, right? So I won't even get into
with off ice reasons. That's the main factor. It's off ice political reasons. And now with COVID, why would a player want to come here and have to test 60,000 times before hopping on the ice? And you know what I mean? Like have no fans and all that stuff. Anyways.
Right. And even to your point, right? Like you look at like the biggest, like Toffoli did a couple interviews that were honestly some great interviews, but where he talked about his passion for playing in Montreal. And one of the biggest reasons was, and quite frankly, I think that it's one of the only reasons any free agents, if any, want to come to Montreal is because of the fan base and how passionate the fans are for winning. Because you go to a place like Florida, and don't get me wrong, one of the best teams in the league, but their fans couldn't care less. Unfortunately. Yeah. Imagine we had the Panthers team with our fan base. Like, holy cow.
It's very rare for a player to want to come here without having played here or staying long term without having played here.
Or like, even grown up here, for example, right? Like,
because they know, like Suzuki, he was traded here, so he got a taste of it, and then decided I want to stay here long term because how amazing it is.
Mhm.
But a guy like Toffoli never played here. How did he know, right? So
Right.
it's very
But
rare.
and then even to add on to that, you're looking at a player like Jeff Petrie, where I've heard rumors now, whether it's on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, where he's saying that he's trying to get out of being traded away from Montreal now. I don't know if you heard that.
I hope not.
If it, I'll pull it up quickly because I don't want to, I don't want to say anything without a source here. But apparently that's the case, and if that is the case, as much as we don't like that idea, does it attract free agents potentially?
Uh, if we're talking about Petrie here, I think if you receive an offer that you like, you take it.
Well,
Like he could be happy. He could be happy now because they just won 6 out of 7 games, so he's in a good mood. But
right.
that doesn't change what's gonna what he's still getting paid for the next 4 years at $6.5 million. We're talking about 7 games here, not four
Right.
years.
No, I
So
agree. Like I'll just read the source because I
yeah.
don't want to sound. It was from Stu Cowan or Stu Cohen. Stu
Oh,
Cowan.
really? Okay, yeah,
He
Stu
said
Cowan,
Jeff
yeah.
Petrie could be changing his mind about wanting out of Montreal since the coaching change.
Yeah, and cool, but like at the same time, Ken Hughes still said on live television that if he receives a trade for Pichu that he likes, he's taking it.
Right. Look,
I think if you're in a retool, money has to go. Money has to go, and he's one of them that the money has to go. And we could even talk about this because I've mentioned it before. But through all of the last time, ladies and gentlemen, Brendan Gallagher has scored. Mark Bergevin was our general manager.
feel bad for that guy, man.
I feel bad for him, but at the same time, it's a business, and he's getting paid also 6.5 for the next 5 years, if I'm not mistaken.
So is that I think you're right. Is that a contract that you retain salary cap on in
Try
order
not
to?
to.
Well, how do you not? What team's taking that on? He's
Call
29
LA.
years old and he has. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Marinaro said you call LA for and you call Bergevin. Dano and Gallagher reunion.
The guy who gave him the contract.
Yeah. Yeah, he
Look,
signed
I
a
love
6-year
Galley.
deal, so there's 5 years left, right? Yeah.
I love Galley, but at the end of the day, I mean, like it's I think his time is up in the not time is up in the NHL, but I think his time as a
He's out of
dominant
gas.
goal scorer. Yeah, he's out of gas. And it's funny because a lot of people thought that Gallagher's career was going to end because of due to his play style, and it's
It
actually
did.
not even.
Yeah,
But it's
it
not even
was
the case though. It's not even the case though. The case is that he got unfortunate injuries because he was getting slap shots to the hand by Shea Weber and PK Subban and whoever hell
I
else
think
was on his
Romanov
team.
wristed one also.
Romanov, that was the one that put him out for this season. Like, oh my
Yeah.
god, it's unfortunate. Like the guy's always got a cut on his lips somewhere.
But again, I try to move him.
I agree, but it's tough. It's tough.
It's tough.
It's a tough player to move.
We'll move on though, because now we're reaching the 53-minute mark. I think I should have predicted that we're going to go on a rant of some random.
I knew it was
thing,
gonna happen. You knew it was
but
gonna happen.
bold predictions for tomorrow night's game in Edmonton against the Oilers. Do you have one? I'm trying to think of
Bold
one while I talk.
predictions.
That's why I'm
Bold
talking slowly.
predictions. I don't know what's bold anymore. Like the Habs winning 6 out of their last 7 was bold.
Let me see here. Wait, did Pizzetta play last night?
Yeah.
Okay, he did. Because he dressed
He
up all like a
yeah,
cowboy.
he's looking good. He subbed in for Perot last night.
Okay.
I'll Oh god, I don't know. You know what? Okay, we just talked about it. I'll take a goal from Gallagher. Take a goal from
Oh
Gallagher.
yeah. Wow. Okay, that's smart.
Should I go for 2 or is that too bold? I know the name of the game is bold predictions.
That's
So
very bold. Yeah. You can go
2,
for it.
2,
Yeah.
2, 2 from
2
Gallagher.
for Gallagher. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go goal and an assist for Chris Weidman.
I have no comment on that one. I have no comment on that one. Chris Weidman. What a name.
Yeah. Chris Weidman, goal and assist. You heard it here first. Habs
All
Culture
right.
Podcast. Anything else you'd like to
That's,
add?
I don't
I
know,
think
man. I don't.
I just ruined. I made you
Yeah,
speechless by saying that word, didn't
you
I?
just put me in a really bad mood, I think. I'm
Jeez.
joking. No, but yeah, no, I let's see what happens. Look, I mean, I wouldn't be like, it's not even bold to say. Remember when it came to the point where it was like, oh, the Habs winning this game is bold.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's gone to that point, but it's gone. There, like you say all the time, never a dull moment in Montreal.
Never.
Never.
It's a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah, to say the least.
And on that note, we thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time, hopefully soon. So thanks for joining us. See you guys.
Stay safe, guys.